Hello, welcome back to Make Art Your Way. In our second video, we'd like to talk a little bit more about art history. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at a short presentation about art history and a few artists that you can think about who may be influential to you. Making Art Your Way, Video 2, Ideas from Art History. And this is just the first slide showing a paintbrush in someone's hand and paint, getting ready to paint. It's important to remember that art history is incredibly long, going back to the dawn of time. But experiencing art from history can help you think about yourself as part of something bigger. Art has such a long tradition that there's plenty of room for everybody to make their say through art. It's important to focus on yourself and your own creativity, to think of yourself as part of a long story that's still being told. There's no end to the story, and perfection is not required. Also know that it is okay to make people think. As a matter of fact, that's what people like about art. It makes you think. Art does make people think, and you can express your ideas your way. Art is always welcoming to new ways of expression and new methods and new personalities. In that way, it's kind of like an open door to go through. Focus on your ability and think about some creative ways that you can make your ability stronger. Now let's learn a little bit from some artists in history. Some of us might need somebody to help us make art. That is not a problem. You're still the artist. As a matter of fact, collaboration in art goes way back, even farther than these two artists pictured here. But this is a good example. Andy Warhol and Jean-Michel Basquiat. Andy Warhol died in 1987 and Jean-Michel in 1988. They were frequent collaborators in painting, and they are shown here in boxing shorts and boxing gloves, a photo for their collaborative art show. And Andy Warhol is an older gentleman, and Jean-Michel Basquiat is a younger gentleman with dark skin and hair. Andy Warhol has light skin and light hair. So if you need someone to help you make art, it's important to remember that you would be in the tradition of collaborative art. We're showing a painting here with lots of bright colors, some brown and red and yellow, black and white, pink. And in the center of it, a little bit to the left, is an upper set of dentures. And there's a black skull with teeth or a shape of a head. It's kind of abstract. And it has a number on it, 1985. Keep Frozen, the letter S in white on a black rectangle background, and lots of sort of patches of paint. This one is called Dentures Keep Frozen from 1985. And it's a great example of the collaborative art that was done by Andy Warhol and Jean-Michel Basquiat. Andy Warhol established what they call the Factory, which was a collaborative of artists and filmmakers who made lots of challenging art and brought forth lots of ideas. Andy Warhol had a media focus on him for quite a while, especially in the 80s. And he had a magazine as well. Very famous, priceless works of art coming from both of these artists. And the artwork that they did together is, of course, classic and priceless as well. For this example, it's important to know that needing somebody to help or choosing to have somebody help and even collaborate with you is a tradition of art. And as a matter of fact, Andy Warhol did direct factory members to make components of his art, and it was still his art. So you are still the artist in collaborative work. How about adaptive equipment? Get creative. Here we have a picture of an artist named Chuck Close, who died in 2021. He's sitting in his wheelchair working on a large portrait. He's very famous for portraits. And in the foreground is a jar of brushes, and it is showing how he would break a portrait up into small squares or sections. He also has his palette affixed to his chair. So he used abstract shapes and adaptive equipment to paint. He is, and has been also one of the highest paid artists ever in history. Here's a closer picture where you can see Chuck Close at the right, and you can see his arm has a self-made brace on it that is used to hold a paintbrush. And that is an adaptive brace so that he could grip the brush. And his painting method of applying dots of paint close to each other to create the illusion of mixed color when you step back from it and look at it from a distance was adaptive and also highly innovative, and put him into the realm of master artist of the modern era. Here we have a picture of a collage, which is cut paper assembled to create a blue figure on a white background. And the title of this work is called Blue Nude, and it is by Henri Matisse. And the work is dated 1952. Henri Matisse was a master impressionist painter who was living between 1869 and 1954. And he adapted his work to collage, which was simply cut and paste paper, in response to loss of mobility. He also was known to direct his studio technicians to assist in his creation of collage. And in his writings and memoirs, he stated that he found it very freeing to focus on the simplicity that collage brought to him in comparison to painting methods he used before. So here we have a picture of an artist named Judith Scott, who died in 2005. Judith, there's two pictures of Judith. One is black and white, and it's on the right-hand side, and one is in color on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, it shows Judith embracing a large pod-like shape, almost the same size as her, consisting of wound fibers. And it looks kind of like a cocoon. And on the left, she's wearing a colorful scarf and shirt and beads. And it shows her in the process of creating one of these works, which looks like a pod. And it is made of wound together yarn in this case. So a very large oblong sort of ball made of yarn. Judith is a great example of a tactile artist who created sculptures, and they are regarded as very emotionally powerful, very pod-like. And Judith has a very interesting story. She is an artist who happens to experience intellectual and developmental disability. And she is one of a set of twins, and her twin sister wrote a book about her. So if you get a chance to search on the internet about Judith Scott, you might find her book and it tells her story. But her artwork resonates with people, meaning a lot of people find meaning in it. And her works are very highly sought after and command high prices. Our next slide is a picture of a young man with light skin and blonde hair in a wheelchair, using his wheelchair wheels to apply paint to a pink square on the floor. And behind him is a larger work, mostly green background with tire track marks of orange and blue. And this is Tommy Holenstein, who is a living abstract expressionist artist. And he uses his assistive technology, meaning his chair in this case, and his service animal, dog, to create. He uses the wheelchair wheels and service dog paws to paint. He actually started painting with a mouth stick, but he did not prefer that method, and he began to use his wheelchair wheels to paint instead. Makes larger works and some smaller works. Very highly sought after, and his paintings are collected by major celebrities. Of course, there are many more famous artists with disabilities. We do have a picture of Frida Kahlo, who died in 1954. And Frida Kahlo was a master surrealist painter. She is shown in the picture. It is a black and white picture of Frida Kahlo laying in her bed and working on a painting while in the bed with her palette on top of her and her painting as a child looks on. You can see a jar of brushes in the background and other pillows and things like that that she would use to position herself. And of course, this is a very short list of artists, but we also have Vincent van Gogh, Christy Brown, and Michelangelo on the list. So I would encourage you, if you are inspired, to internet search some of these names, and you can learn more about the artist and their work. And if they happen to experience disability as the ones we have listed, you should be able to find information about that too, if you just include disability in the search. So this is our short video about art history. We're hoping that you have found inspiration in making art your way. When you choose to make art, you're definitely part of a longer story, and you can and should see yourself as part of something bigger. Always focus on yourself and your own creativity first, and the choices that you can make to convey your thoughts and feelings through art. It is okay to make people think, and the shock of the new is a good thing in art. You can express your ideas your way. Always focus on your ability. And I invite you to think about some creative ways that you can put into play to make your ability stronger, like some of the examples that we've seen here today. Is it in your approach to art? Is it in the scale, meaning the size of your art? Is it in the way that you create it, using a piece of technology or a collaborative work where more than one person helps to create the art? Will you direct others to help create the art? So the possibilities are infinite when it comes to art.